Good morning, everyone. This is Ryan Entner with your Wednesday, March 20th morning market commentary. A little bit of a choppy trade yesterday, but nothing too much in the way of direction. What we'll look at first in corn is today's ethanol report. Recently, we've seen crude, gasoline, and ethanol prices all see a slight to mild increase. So we'll wait and see if that shows any reflection on today's ethanol report. Will we finally find a strong report after countless disappointing reports in a row? If corn is going to find support today, it's most likely going to come from that report. Again, USDA is looking for a pace of about 0.5% under last year. So if we could see a report today that even comes right at last year's level or any amount above it, we could see light support there. We do want to mention that yesterday the May corn did take out the previous day's low. So that now gives a chart impression of sideways, maybe a little lower, but it's a little early to make that case quite yet. So for right now, we'll say that the chart, for the time being, looks a little bit more on the sideways fashion. Also to note, tomorrow morning at 7:30 in the morning, NOAA will release their first 3-month maps. This time, on the release of the 3-month maps, it'll look out through planting and spring. So while there may not be an initial market reaction, because trade will probably wait for the acreage report before getting too hung up on weather, we do want to pay close attention to those maps because, again, it'll be the first outlook that goes all the way through spring and planting. Switching over to the beans, there was a lot of mixed news in China yesterday. Most of the headlines generally smaller. We're now hearing talk of the Trump and Xi meeting being pushed back to April. 2 trade officials are heading over to Beijing next week to continue the talks. There was also an occasional headline here. There are some doubts about the talks. If you put the whole thing into the mix, probably nothing that really stands out. And for now, hearing headlines that don't particularly stand out still implies a general slow grind lower for the beans as we wait for that larger piece of news. Moving over to wheat, Trump had a meeting with the Brazilian president yesterday. They did come to an agreement where Brazil will lower their tariffs or go with a 0 tariff on 750,000 tons of U.S. wheat. Again, nice headline story. You see overnight up a little bit in KC, but not Chicago. Maybe here the thought in the overnight trade is that KC is anticipating this is a big enough story to get funds to start short covering their record KC short position in KC wheat. However, in Chicago, they don't hold nearly as an aggressive of a position. We'll see if that pans out here after the start of the day session. We do want to point out that that doesn't mean immediate buying, although any stronger demand for wheat is obviously good news for a market that's desperate for any news from the demand front. Switching over to cattle, very clear to see yesterday that cattle traders were in complete reaction to weather maps. Right to the minute that each weather map came out, you saw cattle go up, and then the 6 to 10 day was drier. You saw them go back down. And in the far extended map, there was one more snowstorm out there for Nebraska and Kansas. So we saw a late session bounce back again. If cattle are going to remain glued to weather maps, which is a high chance of seeing that here today, we do want to point out that there is still rain in the forecast for Nebraska and Kansas in the 1 to 5 day map, and there is still a snowstorm 10 plus days out for, as of this morning, is for Kansas, 7 to 12 inches of snow. Any forecast going out 10 or more days for snow, of course, you never know. It could be there one day and gone the next, but we should point out it is still on the forecast maps this morning, so we could see a little bit of support there for cattle, at least to start off the day until we get to the noon maps, which will be coming out between 11 and noon here this morning. So all cattle traders should pay close attention to the weather maps along with cash cattle bids. So that's what we have here for this morning on Wednesday. If you have any questions, give us a call, 800-551-4626. And as always, you can visit us on the web, allendale-inc.com.